everyone. We're back with the Ethical Consumer Podcast. I'm your host, Julia, and I am here with Axel Brave of Axel Provisions. Welcome, Axel.
Thank you very much for having me, Julia. I appreciate it.
Most definitely. So we were just talking about this. If you guys saw on Axel's Instagram page, I got to do a fun commercial of eating some of his chimichurri sauce, and it's super, super good, if I do say so myself.
I appreciate the kind words, Julia. And I guess for those of you listening, that means if you eat my products and try my food, you can also be Instagram famous.
There we go.
Post it all over the social medias.
It launched my Instagram career, I must say. No, it was really fun. It was really fun to do, and it was really fun just to get to try your product, because I'm up here in Iowa and you are in Texas, and though you ship, I don't live close to a Whole Foods where you're also at. So for me to walk into a store, I can't get your product close to me right now. But getting to try that, I will say, it's definitely worth a look into and an order, guys. And you can find Axel Provisions at Whole Foods, at Heb. We don't have a Heb up here.
HEB.
HEB.
It's a Texas retail giant. It's kind of whenever I have people in town visiting Texas, that's kind of my tour spots I take them to, because it's such a fun and playful store.
Uh-huh. We take our visiting out of town folks to Hyvee, which is a similar Midwest grocery mega chain sort of situation, and everyone loves it because maybe it's like HEB where there's literally everything there. You can get kitchen utensils there. You can get, I think they even have like, probably not Vitamix, but maybe like the NutriBullet or the Ninja Blender or stuff like that there. But you can get everything, and some of our European friends walk in and they're like, this is amazing. I want to go to Hyvee. I want to go to Target.
Yeah.
I want to go to the stores that have everything. And
it's so funny how the foreigners, when they come and visit, they want to go to stores.
Yeah.
They want to go to all these name brand stores that we're kind of like sick of, but they see it on TV so much, like Gap. Like my family from Argentina always wanted to go to Gap. It's like Gap is the shit. It's like Six Flags to them. It's like, okay, sweet.
I love it. And I don't personally, but like when other friends go over to Europe or in Brazil even, going to H&M, because we don't have many H&Ms in the Midwest, but that's kind of, I suppose that would be our equivalent. But after digging into H&M a little bit, I don't think I will be supporting and buying from them. Not necessarily the most ethical name drop on the Ethical Consumer Podcast, but
as the hostess of an Ethical Consumer Podcast, you should never go into H&M.
No, we don't do that. I'm proud to say I've never actually bought anything from H&M. Bless you if you have. Use it until it runs into threads, but we don't need to do that. Anyways, enough about the fast fashion industry. And back to Axel Provisions. So I've gotten to try your stuff. I absolutely love it. Would you like to tell our listeners and watchers about the story behind the chimichurri sauce?
Yes. It's funny. I have said this story 1,000 times, and I never know where to start. But so let's start with my family. My family is from Buenos Aires, Argentina, which is South America, and one of the big traditions there is eating with your family and friends, typically on Sundays, and it's always around the grill. So open style cooking, coals, high flame, fast times, a ton of different cuts of meat. So if you're an Argentine or born from Argentine parents, you eat meat probably 8, 9, 10 times a week, a ton of meat. But Sunday is the religious holiday to gather and eat meat there. So one of the staples of this meat eating extravaganza, which we call an asado, or what you would call here a barbecue or a grill out, is a condiment called chimichurri. It's a fun word to say. You can practice later, but chimichurri simply means a mixture of several things. It's a Basque word, and it's essentially olive oil, red wine vinegar, simple herbs and spices. And the cowboys of Argentina used to use this to preserve and flavor meat when they roamed all over Patagonia herding cattle. Meat is a huge industry. All the cows there are free range. So the meat is super nice, super tasty. And people just wanted to add more flavor. So they created this marinade slash condiment. So yeah, that's kind of the staple condiment on everybody's table. You know, I've heard it's like the ketchup of Argentina, the barbecue sauce of Argentina. But growing up, that was my role. That was my chore, was to make that when people came over. I think I started at around the age of 10. I learned the recipe from my father, kind of tweaked it here and there because everything was based off what you saw. There was no written recipe like 4 grams of this, an ounce of that. It was just, yeah, mix this and this, and like it should kind of taste like this. Every family has their own recipe, but mine was the best. So yes.
Of course.
So I kind of had to make that every time we had people over, and it turned out to be really freaking good. And every time I would make it, people would rave about it and be like, "Oh, you need to sell this. You need to sell this." And I never wanted to be the sauce guy. So I was like, "No, I'm not going to sell this. I don't know anything about that. I'm going to keep going to school." And growing up, I was always grilling, always cooking, French cuisine, Italian cuisine, Spanish cuisine, a little bit of South American, but a lot of grilling. And we did that for about a year, realized that how tough the restaurant industry is. So kudos to everybody who's in it. But I realized 2 things. I realized that I loved being around food and kind of serving people and watching them smile after they tried something I had made. And that I wanted to move back to my hometown, Houston, Texas. So I was in Austin beforehand and wanted to move back to Houston. And after a taste of entrepreneurship, I got back to Houston, was like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't want to work for anybody. I can go do like some financial banking or go do some administrative work. Had a degree in business admin. But I was like, what can I make with these 2 hands and sell it? And I was like, holy shit, chimichurri sauce. So I did some research, ordered some jars, figured out how to make a bunch of it at a time, jar it safely. And I was busting these out in my parents' kitchen and selling it to friends and family, then making more, so going to farmers markets. And that's when I kind of realized that, wow, people, it's not just my friends and family who love this and are being nice to me. It's all these strangers really like it, even though they don't know what it is. And bada bing, bada boom, I get invited to a retailer's annual showcase here, and we ended up being one of the top 5 contenders out of 400 vendors there, and they took our product onto, I think, 9 or 10 stores, and that was when I realized what I had made and the power it had.
So I studied abroad in Brazil, and we didn't have asados, we had churrascos, but I'm assuming it's going to be the similar idea. And I must say, so listeners,
the Brazilians
viewers,
wish it was similar.
The Brazilians wish. Okay, guys. So for those of you that don't know the beef between Argentina and Brazil, there is some, and I'm all good with the Argentinians. It's no big deal. But yeah, soccer is a point of contention, and the food. And I mean, I think everyone really loves everybody, but everyone also really likes to give everyone else shit. So
we love giving each other a hard time, especially when it comes to soccer. But we get along at the end of the day. So.
But yeah, I don't eat a ton of meat. I don't usually eat meat on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. But I must say, I ate a lot of meat there. I also tried to get vegetarian things when possible, but I also just really enjoy good food and traditional food and tasting what a different culture would usually have on a regular basis. And I have to say, the South Americans, as far as I've experienced, you guys know how to do food. It's so good. It really is. And like adding the chimichurri. Okay, so I'm a failed fake Brazilian because I can't actually roll my R's. I can flip them, but I can't
so you
roll
can't
them.
You can't say churrasco.
Churrasco. No, it'd be so. It's actually 2 R's in a row in Portuguese is an H sound.
Churrasco.
Churrasco.
Yeah.
Churrasco. It's an H, not an R. It's super crazy.
The
I know that's one of
Portuguese.
the weird language things. The Portuguese, the Brazilians, the damn Brazilians. I love my Brazilians, but no, I was fighting. I loved the. I'll share this on social media too once this episode is out. Some of the guys from Fresh Fuel, when we were doing that marketing shoot, you had everyone try, or Trevor had everyone try to say, chimichurri. And I can flip it, but I can't roll it. And I think Eric was the only one that actually got it right.
I think so.
I think. He's good peoples. Too funny. So you had the best recipe, hands down, for your sauces, and everyone's like, come on, man, you got to make a brand, you got to bottle this, you got to sell this is amazing. Did you originally intend to be a food entrepreneur of sorts? Did you start with a culinary background other than at home? You said you got invited to a convention, but was that ever in the back of your mind, or did you just kind of fall into it?
I think I just kind of fell into it. Things kind of started lining up. I grew up around food, having guests over and entertaining parties. That's my background. That's what I'm good at. And I realized the power food had and how it connected people and how it like crossed boundaries. When I was in college, I always thought of myself as being like the guy behind the CEO, the mastermind behind the CEO, because I was intimidated to be the face of a brand or something like that. And then another aspect was like, oh, I want to start a manufacturing company, something that can be almost a craft that can be replicated over and over and over again and given to as many people as possible. But then I fell into the restaurant scene because things kind of lined up and this opportunity came, and I wanted to start a business with a friend. And we found this little restaurant space, figured we can afford the lease, realized that we can bring in revenue. And we're making like probably, anywhere between 10 to 20K a month, bringing in people into this small bistro. And that's when I was like, oh, damn, I'm confident enough to do this and be the face of this. And like the idea of failing and taking risks, I understood it was there, but it did not hold me back. And like, is that a bad thing? Maybe sometimes, but I was all in, and like the fear of failing was something that did not faze me at all. In fact, the whole time, as an entrepreneur, you always think that things are going to go bad or things are going to fail, but that's kind of like the drug that's fueling you to keep going.
It's an interesting battle to be in, and I'm just barely in that myself, just doing some of the podcast stuff. But I'm also a yoga teacher, so it's difficult. You have to not let that be intimidating for you. Yeah. How did you work through that? What was your method of just like coping with, or did you just say, I don't care, I'm going to do this no matter what?
Like I think you said it in reverse. The first thing is like, I'm going to do this no matter what, because I love it so much and it brings me so much joy. So I'm going to do this. And then once you're in it, you're like, oh shit, I got to figure out, I have to create systems in my mind and in my business for when shit hits the fan or when I feel depressed because nothing's working. How do I push myself forward? And those small victories start adding up, and you realize that, the power comes from within, and you kind of build your own strategy on how to pick yourself back up when you get knocked down. But honestly, it's being able to do that. I think it's not a type of person. It definitely can be, but it's also a learned trait that's super hard. It's like a muscle. It's like a sport that you have to continually practice. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. Right. So yeah, it's like you see fear right in front of you, but you're constantly facing and battling it and not letting it take over.
That, I would have to say, I think everyone could probably use to hear that, especially those on the journey of having maybe a newer business, or maybe you've been in business for a while and you're trying to scale up, you're trying to expand. But yeah, the fear is going to be there, but not letting it take over. A friend of mine would say, The fear can be in the passenger seat, but it doesn't get to drive.
Yeah, yeah, but don't
It
get
doesn't get to have hands on the
it,
wheel.
it definitely makes you some sort of a crazy person to want to constantly like put yourself in that situation, to feel completely uncomfortable and out of control at times. It's again, it's
Sure.
this weird addiction to this not so fun feeling that we continually have to face and challenge ourselves with.
So, what would you say, other than fear, other than being unsure, other than on occasion having doubt, what was your biggest challenge as far as getting Axel Provisions as a company off the ground, into stores, into e-commerce? Any challenging point in that journey and how you made it through?
No, nothing challenging.
Nothing. It was just cake. It was all good.
No, of course, there's challenges everywhere. You're asking about like business challenges or mental challenges, because there's like a multitude of
Ooh.
everything that's going on. The first, my challenge right now is raising working capital, for example. So that's on the forefront of my mind. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's constantly a funny question I get asked is like, what does your day to day look like? And it's like, oh, I put out fires day to day. I'm like a firefighter. That's my job. There's things that go wrong all the time. There's things that go right all the time as well. But like, there's things that go wrong constantly, new things, problems that you haven't solved before, which I love. Like, again, this is the weird addiction I have. Like when shit hits the fan and so many things are going wrong at the same time, I feel like that's when I'm thriving the most, because I get to problem solve. This need to be a pleaser and a fixer of things. But
Are you a Virgo?
Aries,
Oh, okay.
Aries.
The Virgo fixer right here. So I feel you on that
Oh, yes,
one.
yes. So like, I don't know. The biggest challenge technically and business related right now is realizing the necessity of being extremely well versed in financial statements and financial models. So then you can go out and start raising money, and accepting the fact that I can't get to the size I want to without opening up a little and asking for help financially, for these models and to raise capital.
What is your, let's see. So, did you do this off the bat by yourself with your own whatever working capital you had, or did you initially have investors? It's sounding like right now you're thinking, okay, I want to scale up, I want to do more, and with, pandemic right now too, that's been really hard. We can talk about that a little bit later, but did you do this on your own, or did you have some family support, or how did that look like?
So, um, yes to both and no to both. So, like, I I feel at times that it's just me by myself. I'm the one wearing all the hats. I'm the one doing all the negotiations, paying bills, bringing in revenue. But that's so far from reality, because I work with so many people and have created this system where I have co-packers and I have drivers and warehouse teams and marketing agencies, and I have to like connect everybody with what I need done. And without any of that, I wouldn't have been able to do that myself. I can't design a freaking website. I'm not good at creating like Facebook ads. Um, I don't have a facility to make thousands of jars a month. I needed to bring people in for that. And that's all like the systematic stuff, right? Then there's the like mentorship and the guidance and the security, and I get a lot of that from mentors and family. My family has helped me out so much. My little sister has loaned me money here and there, like $500 or $900 or whatever, $4,000, and I'd pay her back. But it's so funny, asking my little, my younger, she'd hate if I called her little, but my younger sister, my 21, 22, 23 year old, hey, I'm like short $500 to pay this. Can you lend me the money and I'll pay you back like at the end of the week? Yeah, sure. So like, there's no freaking way I could be where I am today without the help of my family and my friends. Yeah, there's been so many times where I've had like big festivals or shows, and there's thousands of people and I can't just go by myself, even though it's just me within the organization or on payroll. So I'll like ask my roommate or ask my best friend or ask a girlfriend, hey, do you mind spending 6 hours with me on Saturday morning or Sunday morning between 7 a.m. and 1, like selling my product? And everyone's been so nice and so supportive, and everyone's always down to help. And I can't be where I am today without that.
That's been a similar thing that's come up repeatedly, is that, though there may be one person behind a brand or behind a company or a couple, maybe it's a duo, and then of course there's every valued employee that's on the scene too and making things work that people never see. Like the podcast has a bunch of awesome people behind it too. It's not just me, even though mine is the voice that you hear and the face that you see. There's a whole lot, and I totally resonates with teaching yoga, running a studio, and there's always so much more support than you think you have. Even if it feels like sometimes you're really alone, sometimes it takes stopping and taking a look and seeing like who do I get to be thankful for this week, or who do I get to be thankful for this month? Like your younger sister for always coming through.
Yeah, no,
with a little cash advance.
That's very well said, Julia. We tend to forget all the help and all the support systems that we have around us because we're so focused on what we want to get done that we forget that we have all the support around us. And if you stop and think and open up your eyes, and especially like getting over the fear of asking for help, because it's very hard for people to ask for help because you have to be extremely vulnerable, and you're trying to build this empire and you're stuck and you can't keep building it. And you're like, God, am I a failure if I ask for help? Like, I'm supposed to be doing this myself. This is my responsibility. And so many people get stuck there because they're afraid to ask for help. And I try to preach it all the time, like, know your circle and ask for help when you need it, and try to know what you don't know.
Oh gosh, know what you don't know. Yes. And like, don't be afraid to ask for help. I was just listening to, actually, our wonderful audio video editor, Corey, has a podcast too with his company, Simplistic Views, and his guest said that too. He was giving advice to other entrepreneurs, and he said, try to learn everything you can, but then like learn one thing really well and learn when to ask someone else to do other things for you. Like someone else is going to be better than that. Maybe you can acquire those skills, but there's always other people to fill in the gaps. I think one of our other guests, Jason Tuttle of Haymaker Works Immunity Tonic, he was saying, it's sometimes it's about finding the right people or just remembering you have the right people.
Yeah.
It's good to feel like you're a part of a community. I think that's one thing that a lot of people have been lacking over the past year, and it's nice to stop and look around and see the community you do have.
Well, that's leadership, right? Knowing the community you have and giving people responsibility that are better than you in certain fields, and kind of putting all that together to create this beautiful orchestra that can produce awesome like services and products and just like growth for the community.
Mm-hmm, definitely. When we talked before, you had mentioned you had a desire to be able to create Axel Provisions and be successful, not only to, I think it's important to want to have a successful company and be able to take care of yourself, but also to be able to give back. And you had mentioned that initially in the beginning of COVID, it was a little bit difficult to move product at the time because stores just weren't ordering as much. Everyone had kind of tightened their purse strings, and you'd done a little bit of community work. I don't remember what it was, but it was with your product. Do you remember what we talked about?
So there's an organization, and God, I know it's part of Butcher's Ball here in Houston, Texas. It's a Texas event, but when COVID came and all the restaurants shut down, this organization and maybe the food bank, I don't remember, and I'm going to beat myself up for this, but some restaurant industry organizations got together and made care packages for industry workers because they were out of jobs. They didn't have any more income. How were they going to buy food? How were they going to pay rent? And the industry here really pulled through. One of the most popular chefs here started a massive fund, or had started a massive fund, and was raising money for these people. But anyways, the organization I was working with, I had attended some festivals with them, and they were making these care packages, and I had a ton of leftover product that was going to expire in like 2 or 3 months, and I decided to donate, a couple hundred jars for these care packages. And it was awesome because all these industry workers know what chimichurri is, so they just threw it in there, and we got to donate a ton of that stuff. And I'm pretty sure everybody liked it, but it was like small stuff like that where instead of throwing this product away or trying to sell it at discount, it made a lot more sense just to give it to people who kind of needed it, kind of cheer them up to show that like, hey, thanks for all the work you've done. I know you're out of a job, but we're here for you.
Not being out of a job, but just the fact that you were able to give back to those people, and they felt loved and appreciated, and it was hopefully a bright spot in their day. I think sometimes that's the first thing to go is, chimichurri is a staple for Argentine cuisine, but it's also, if someone has the choice between buying mustard and bread, they're probably going to buy bread, not the mustard. So the fact that they got to have something too that was, a more special, maybe considered a luxury ingredient, instead of if they were really down on their luck, which a lot of people were, they could make something, especially industry workers, restaurant workers, that you would think, hopefully, if they're working in a kitchen, they love food.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they can do some masterful things with not a lot of ingredients, but when you have that love for food, to be eating, within your means for the situation, which was extremely unfortunate, it had to have been kind of maybe even a pride injury kind of thing. Like, I would like to make this, but I don't get to buy that right now.
Of course. I mean, it becomes very personal with people during times like that. And again, going back to this concept of food and bringing people together, like, that's what I love. And I was happy, or if I can do that for one person, I'd be satisfied, So like, yeah.
Oh man, that's good. I like hearing the good stories that have come out of a really crazy, ridiculous year. It's been a hard year on a lot of people, and I think I've just been clinging to some of the silver linings.
Yes.
The silver linings that we can cling to. So we've talked a lot about the chimichurri sauce, and you have 3 flavors. 3, correct?
Yes.
There's original, spicy, and
verde.
Verde. There we go with my awful R's. My friends would give me crap because I couldn't roll them. Still can't roll them. I've tried, man. But I got to have the spicy. And it's damn good. I had it on a pepper, a red pepper, I think it was. And you actually have some fantastic websites, blogs on your website. Let's combine 3 words at once, that share some of your recipes. And these are not only with the sauces, but you have some seasoning mixes and pickled onions, and let's see what else. There's not a cutting board, but a serving board, or is it a cutting board?
Well, we have charcuterie
like
board.
A charcuterie board.
Yes. Yeah, so I think we have 14 SKUs. So we have the 3 chimichurri sauces. We have 3 seasoning blends. We have premium ingredients like finishing sea salt, black pepper, a newly launched black garlic powder. We have 2 variations of Spanish pickled onions. And all these are premium Argentine style condiments for grill masters. And it's all these condiments and foods that I would make whenever we were grilling out. And the fact that no one was doing this, and the fact that I can manufacture this at a premium level without any BS being added to them, and being able to share that, was kind of what I wanted to do. So hopefully we can continue expanding with new recipes. But yeah, we have a ton of blogs and a ton of recipes online. One of my passions is writing and reading. So whenever I get to write something up and using my voice, I jump on that.
I love the way you write too, because you write the way you would talk. And just even looking at like the frequently asked questions, it was one of the questions was I'm afraid of the chimichurri sauce or something like that. Is it scary? And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That you're just like, is it scary?
Well,
No, it's good.
it's things I would hear at farmers markets, questions people had right
Yeah.
there and then. So I was trying to answer that on a written format. Yeah, people say they like my writing. Every now and then I'm skeptical because it's really good for some things, really not good for other things. The truth is, I did not pay attention in English class till about 11th grade. So this whole passive voice or first person, second person is, I don't know any of that. I can barely like point out an adjective in a sentence because I did not focus in English class. So yeah, I have to write how I speak because I don't know how to write any other way.
I love it. So you are first generation Texan. You were born in Texas, but your whole family is from Argentina. Do I remember that right?
Exactly, exactly. My parents moved here about 30 years ago, but grew up speaking English and Spanish, so my brain was all over the place.
Sure.
Hmm.
Do you think it was with not being able to pay attention in English class? Side note on our love for languages. I feel like I never wanted to know what an adjective was or what all of those things were, or diagramming sentences was just the bane of my existence in seventh grade. I'm like, why do I have to learn how to diagram a fucking
Yeah,
sentence? Like,
I'm never gonna write an essay. Why do I need
why?
to learn this?
Oh, but then I started learning Portuguese. I learned French and then Portuguese, and part of Portuguese. I'm very fluent in Portuguese, though Hungarian has kind of like started to mix its way in random little words.
Uh-huh.
And man, I kind of wish I
Hungarian.
paid a little bit more
Give,
Hungarian.
give,
Believe it
give,
or
give me
not,
the quick
yeah.
15 seconds of why you're learning Hungarian.
Oh, okay. So my fiance is a percussionist, and he has a percussion duo with one of his buddies from Hungary. He studied abroad in Hungary. I studied abroad in Brazil. And so typically we would go over there every summer or every other summer, and they would do performances. And then in the spring, he would bring his duo partner over there. So it's a very big part of his
In
life, and I
Budapest?
think always will be. In Budapest, yeah.
Okay. Fun town, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So much
And
fun.
it's funny you bring that up. Just we'll get back on topic soon. But when I was there,
That's all good.
it reminded me so much of Boston because I would see musicians all over the street. Maybe I saw you guys when I was there.
Oh gosh, when was the last time you were there?
2014.
2014. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's see, we started dating in 2015, so maybe it was him. I
Maybe I
wasn't
saw
there with
him.
him yet, but but he went to school in Debrecen, and then his dual partner is in Kecskemét. So we usually stay with a buddy in Budapest, but then he'll do his performances in Kecskemét, where his duo partner is. Debrecen. I don't think he's been back to Debrecen. It's a very small town that does have a wonderful music university. So, yeah. Fun fact, man, I miss traveling. I miss
Oh,
the food
I
traveling.
know.
A lot. But yeah, I really wish I paid attention more to diagramming sentences when I started learning a language, like book learning a language, as opposed to what I consider, there's a fancy word for it, I'm sure, absorbing a language, like when you grow up in the language, or when it's immersion,
Yeah.
when you're living there and you just acquire it instead
Yeah,
of
I'm a lot better
the
at
dog walks down the street.
yeah. I'm way better at being somewhere and picking it up with my ears versus reading it on paper and learning how to speak it.
Most definitely. So what has been that's an unfair question. I was going to ask, what's been your favorite creation? But I feel like that's asking a parent which favorite child.
Favorite creation product wise?
Mm-hmm. Or otherwise.
Oh man. The chimichurri sauces have had so much R&D into them. I love that. Learning about how to make it safe, how to not cook it, how to not put crap in it. That's been a fun. And then recently, I don't know, working on single ingredient items that are super premium, like our black garlic powder. We work with a badass scientist here in Texas, and she develops this black garlic powder with an incredible procedure, super scientific, and just being able to sell that and knowing that there's so much science behind it really excites me. So, you know, the obvious answer is my original chimichurri. But you know, yeah, they're all my children, right? So I love them all.
All of your children. So tell me, I'm most intrigued about the black garlic because I am 100% of the belief that the black pepper and the sea salt are premium. There is a huge difference between regular table salt and pink Himalayan salt and black salt, and there's so many different kinds, and the difference really is so noticeable. Getting good seasoning is how you just level up a dish.
Yeah.
It's at first, I think Matt, my fiance, was like, "Why do you buy this fancy pink salt?" I'm like, "Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Because it's delicious." But and that just happens to be the one that I can get locally here. But what is the black garlic? I am super intrigued, and the canisters are beautiful. But does it taste different, or is it a different type?
Okay, so I'll try to say the story as quick as possible. I was introduced to the black garlic by one of my co-packers. He's like, we were shooting the shit in his office. He's like, "Oh my, wait here, you got to try this." Comes back and throws a little baggie this big, like a little drug bag, on the table. He's like, "Try." It's like, try this." I'm like, "Okay." So I try it. I'm like, "Wow, what the hell?" He's like, "That's called black garlic powder." I was like, "Oh, I thought I've heard about it." He's like, "Yeah, there's this lady out in the middle of Texas who's one of the leading scientists in making this. She's doing everything local." And what black garlic powder is you take garlic, you control the humidity and the temperature for an extended period of time. It ferments and turns black. And what happens in that process is that this umami flavor, I think it's the fifth or sixth undiscovered flavor. So you know how you have sour, bitterness, sweet. Umami's the new one that everyone's raving about, which is a super rich, smoky flavor with small hints of garlic and sweetness. And you're supposed to use it as a finishing salt or a finishing powder at the end. And it has some Asian flair to it. That's the best way I can describe it. You guys should just order it off the website and try it for yourself. But
yes,
it's a revolutionary flavor that is super hot and is not even a trend. It's here to stay, and a lot of chefs are working with it nowadays. And it's, again, pronounced umami.
Umami, yeah. Yes. And that is as I understand, kind of what you get from, it's a meaty flavor without being meat. Is that a fair explanation?
Yeah, because of the richness and smokiness that comes out of it. So yeah, it definitely is a fair thing to say. Like I said, it's black garlic powder, but it has small hints of garlic. It's not like your traditional garlic powder. It's completely different. And it's to add this sixth flavor, forgetting, because, you know, they add new flavors here and there, but it brings out this new flavor that everybody's in love with, that we've all have had before. We just never knew exactly what it was. How
would you suggest that folks first try this? Everyone has their favorite recipes and dietary things, but what would you say is just a standard thing? We had a hot sauce guest, and he said their litmus test is eggs. Mm-hmm. Do you have a litmus test for the black garlic or any of your things? Yeah, so, oh my God, I might get beat up for this, but chicken is a good way to try any condiment, because chicken just tastes like chicken. There's not a lot of flavor in it. I don't know, I'm going to get shit for this, but trying it on chicken, you can also try it on like flank steak, which is a very neutral steak and very delicious. Eggs is always a good idea because everybody understands the flavor of eggs and what eggs taste like. So when you add stuff to it, you can differentiate the additional flavors.
So any one of those three things is probably a good bet. I've put it on so many vegetables, so many potatoes, and just recently started using it in soups and new sauces.
Okay. New sauces,
Mm.
new Axel Provision sauces, or new sauces in your own kitchen?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both.
To be determined.
Yeah.
To be revealed at a later date. Love it. So, what on that, do you have hopes and dreams for the future? I mean, I would assume scaling and expanding. You said you have 14 SKUs, probably adding a couple more, but
Julie, I can't live without hopes and dreams.
no, we run on hopes and dreams. That is what we are literally running on, not even in 2020, 2021.
Yeah. Do I have any new idea for new SKUs, new products? Not as of yet. I've been wanting to do culinary equipment for such a long time and do knives and braseros, grills. I've been messing around and designing grills with my father for the past couple of years, and like building grills that are so not state of the art, but can do the job that people need to grill awesome food. When it comes, so I'm kind of all over the place in product development, but for sauces, I've played with ideas here and there of like, what other condiments do we use around the grill for our cuisine? And there's a huge difference between the American grilling and the rest of the world. Americans tend to barbecue, which is low and slow with thick cuts of meat that need to be rendered down, versus, places like Argentina, we use premium cuts of meat that are thin and lean, and we cook it at high temperatures and fast times. So, you would never see something super thick like barbecue sauce being used in South America, just because it would overpower the cuts of meats. But one of the interesting things, so again, Argentina, meat, but being a Texan and being in the US, we've grilled a ton of vegetables, and I could even make an argument that I grill more vegetables than meat nowadays. So I'm thinking of vinaigrettes and things of that nature that can be added to vegetables when being grilled.
I love that. I think when I had the spicy chimichurri sauce, I was picturing, I try to make my hummus at home, but sometimes I'm lazy, sometimes I'm out of tahini, but I'll go to the store and I'll buy some. There's a fairly local place, but sometimes you'll get a roasted red pepper hummus, and there'll be like a dollop of red pepper paste.
Yes.
In the center. And when I try to, just because I lean more towards vegetables and non-animal proteins in general, I felt like I wanted to put that in a beautiful fresh bowl of hummus too. They're so versatile, and I think that's one thing that is just so great, because sometimes you would have a barbecue sauce, and you can put barbecue sauce on a lot of things, but it has a very, what was the word that you said? It's a very prominent flavor. It can very easily cover things up.
Well, the thing with chimichurri is the fact that it uses all these healthy natural ingredients like olive oil and vinegar and herbs, which are already in a ton of our food. So the versatility is in its nature, in and of itself, right? And, again, we mainly use it when we grill out on meats. But when I started introducing it here to the thousands of people would come back to me and be like, I mixed it with hummus. I mixed it with sour cream. I finished off a pasta with it. I baked a cake with it. And it's like,
really,
I'm not the one to tell people no. So do what you want. As long as it tastes good, I'm all for it,
That's awesome. I love hearing your stories behind it and what makes you so passionate about what you're doing. And I can see that just in your facial expression and the way you talk about things. Like, you have a passion for cooking and bringing community together. And I remember reading on the back of your jar, you've set up this beautiful scene. Well, maybe we'll flash that across the screen and we'll put it in the social media posts about this episode. But setting up the scene for community cooking in the backyard, it's really quite beautiful.
Yes, this another passion is storytelling. everyone in my family talks a lot, and we all tell stories, and I wanted to not only share my story via food, but be able to like have it written all over the place, and just share lovely stories that people can repeat and be a part of.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Oh, awesome. Do you have any suggestions for anybody? The broadest question I could ever ask for entrepreneurs, for people that were in your place 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and especially consumers, just in the effort to, the ingredients that they use in their food, or the businesses that they're supporting by buying their food or buying the ingredients for their food.
Yeah. Two things, I guess, for consumers, for, people like you and me, people like your listeners, don't be scared to try new things. Don't be scared to fall in love with new things, with not liking new things. But as long as you're trying stuff and supporting new brands, and especially people who are bringing other cultures to us and letting us travel all these boundaries with food, just be more involved with that, because you learn a lot. It opens you up. It evolves you as a human being, I think. And I guess for, founders and entrepreneurs like ourselves, just keep going, keep doing what you love. And if you're doing what you love every day, it's going to fulfill you. And most importantly, it's going to work out at the end of the day, especially if you're doing what you're most passionate about. So keep it up, and don't let the fear or the struggle weigh you down and keep you from doing that what you love.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautiful. You do have a way with words, sir. I enjoy listening to you talk just as much as I like reading things in your voice, because it's very you. Nothing is scripted. And yeah, you talk like you talk. You're not talking to, address a certain persona or anything like that.
I don't know any other way, Julia.
I appreciate it. So what are you eating and or drinking when you're not grilling, when you're not having your asado, when you're not using your chimichurris or your spices? Mm-hmm. What do you like besides that?
Wow. Anything good. No, I've been on this sourdough bread kick. One of my New Year's resolutions, let's say, is learning how to use the oven for baking pastries and things that don't have to do with meat or vegetables. So I'm doing a lot of that. And I started with the hardest thing possible, which is bread. I think if you can master the art of making bread, you can master anything in the kitchen. It really, really opens up my mind on measurements, on timing, on feeling the food. So I've been doing that a lot. In regards to like drinking, like you said earlier, a sponge. I'll drink anything. But yeah, just anything in the oven recently is kind of what's been getting me going, and finding new spots in Houston that sell certain foods and then bringing them home and trying them out. Actually,
so the bread baking has definitely been a thing in the past year with a lot of people, mm-hmm. But I'm remembering this now when last summer Matt and I were pining for our travels and our food, and I'm very thankful for the situation that we find ourselves in. We're in a very fortunate situation, but we were missing our travel food, and it's like, okay, let's try to make our travel food. And I pulled up your empanada recipe from the blog, and that was the inspiration for us making empanadas one night. And dough and bread in general, that's a tricky beast. It really is.
It definitely is. It takes a lot of practice, and only a few people are really good at it. So I've thrown a lot of bad pieces of bread out, a lot of dough out, making so many. And this might sound like a cliche, but making bread, you'll only get better the more errors and mistakes you make, because that's the only way to realize what works and what doesn't.
It's a good phrase for life,
too. Yeah, that's
just keep making mistakes, guys. Shit.
Yeah, keep making bread.
Keep making bread. The money kind and the carb kind.
Both.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Axel, where can we find you? I stated that at the beginning. I'm sad that there's not a local spot that I can buy you in Iowa, but you do online shipping as well, and it's fairly fast, as I understand.
Yes, it's very fast. You can find us on axelprovisions.com. You can find us on Amazon. You can find us on some other partners' websites. But, we're still a startup. We're 4 years in. So I decided to own our backyard, which is Texas, when it comes to retail, and kind of expand slowly in this world dominance procedure. So we're in all the stores in Texas now, kind of moving out east through the Gulf Coast, and hopefully coming up north towards you in the near future. So yeah, if you want to.
And there are a couple Whole Foods too in Iowa. There are a few Whole Foods, and I think my closest one is about an hour away.
Yeah, so we're not even in that region of Whole Foods yet, because there's like 12 regions, and we're in one, about to expand in some other ones, hopefully. But we'll make it out there.
We're getting there.
I can promise you that.
So in like a year or two, I'm going to go to my Whole Foods, hopefully in a year or two, and I'll be like, hey, I had him on the podcast, and now you're like everywhere. You've exploded across the whole U.S.
Yes.
That'll be exciting. Well, awesome. And then we can find you on Axel Provisions on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
And then you are also, previous, but perhaps with future episodes, also a podcast host.
Yes.
You want to tell me a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so that another thing that kind of just it didn't fall into my lap, but I met somebody who knew somebody, and they were running a podcast network. I pitched them this idea of having a CPG food focused show. It's called Pack and Taste Podcast with Axel Brave. And secretly, I just wanted to talk to all the geniuses around me about, packing food and delicious food all over Texas and the industry here. And I got so fortunate and so lucky to have spectacular guests on my show. We've taken a quick pause because of COVID, and are hoping to launch season 2 in a couple months, and be able to pick all these smart individuals' brains.
Cool. So we will check out axelprovisions.com, and perhaps the new episodes of Packing Taste hopefully come up. If not, there's previous episodes. You have a whole season out there already that folks can check out. Mm-hmm. And that, I have to say, I listened to a lot of podcasts before hosting this one, and it's just fun. It's fun to listen to. It's fun to talk. It's fun to be the host. It's fun to be the guest. Mm-hmm. And I just like listening to conversations. I enjoy it a lot. And I enjoyed having this conversation with you.
I appreciate it. And the feeling is completely mutual.
Well, guys, that is all we have for today. Axel, any last words of wisdom, requests, or suggestions?
No, I think I've said enough.
Well, I appreciate all that you have said. So, folks, go ahead and keep following Ethical Consumer. Check out Axel Provisions, Packing Taste Podcast, and I'll see you next time.